Hey everyone, welcome to Karenology. Today's story will make you laugh, cringe, and probably yell at your screen. Let's go.
Homeowner Association had just sent me an official letter claiming that my garage was being used for illegal car dealing, and if I didn't shut it down immediately, they would press charges. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. I wasn't running a business. Sure, I helped a few friends and neighbors fix their cars, but it was never for profit. Just something I did in my spare time. My wife, Laura, had always joked that my garage was my second home, but now it seemed like someone had decided it was a crime scene. I held the letter in my hands, feeling my pulse rise. This was no mistake. This was a direct attack. Someone wanted me gone. I stepped outside, scanning the quiet neighborhood. The same neat houses, the same well-manicured lawns, the same people pretending not to stare as they walk their dogs. My neighbor, Tom Harper, was in his driveway, adjusting the hose on his lawn. I walked over, still gripping the letter. "Did you get one of these?" I asked, unfolding the paper. He glanced at it and sighed. "No, but I heard about it. Karen's been talking about your garage at every homeowner association meeting. She's been telling people you're running some kind of illegal operation." Karen Blakey, the self-proclaimed guardian of the neighborhood, the woman who lived to enforce rules nobody asked for. She had been trying to shut me down for months, claiming my garage was an eyesore and that oil stains on the driveway brought down property values. But this, accusing me of stealing and reselling cars, that was a whole new level. And the worst part was, I knew how these things worked. Once homeowner association had their claws in something, they didn't let go. If they were after me, they weren't going to stop until they had enough fabricated evidence to bury me in legal trouble. Laura met me at the door when I got back inside. "What did Tom say?" she asked, seeing the tension on my face. "He says Karen's behind this." I tossed the letter onto the counter. "They think I'm running a chop shop. I swear these people have lost their minds." She frowned. "That's ridiculous. Everyone around here knows you just fix cars for people. Did you call anyone?" "Not yet," I admitted. "I don't even know where to start. Maybe a lawyer? But that feels like admitting guilt. I didn't do anything wrong." But later that evening, I got my answer. 2 police officers showed up at my door, Officer Delgado and Officer Hicks. They weren't aggressive, but their presence was enough to send a clear message. "We received a complaint about stolen vehicles being moved through this property," Delgado said, glancing toward my garage. "Mind if we take a look?" I laughed dryly. "You're serious? Look all you want. I have nothing to hide." They stepped inside, shining their flashlights around. The place was cluttered, but nothing out of the ordinary. A half-disassembled '97 Mustang, a few spare parts, oil rags, normal stuff for a guy who liked to tinker with cars. But then Delgado's light landed on something that made my stomach drop. A black sedan parked in the back, one I didn't recognize. "This yours?" he asked. "No," I said slowly, my pulse spiking. "I don't know how it got here." Delgado exchanged a look with Hicks. "That's funny, because we ran the plates before we came. This car was reported stolen 3 days ago." My mouth went dry. "That's impossible. Someone must have put it here. I've never seen it before." Hicks took out his radio. "Dispatch, we have a vehicle match at this address. Requesting verification." Laura appeared behind me, gripping my arm. "I swear, we don't know anything about this." Delgado exhaled sharply. "I hope you're telling the truth, Mr. Foster, because this just turned into a real problem for you. And trust me, when homeowner association gets involved, they push hard for legal action. The officers didn't arrest me that night, but they made it clear that an investigation was underway." As they drove off, I stood in the driveway, hands on my hips, trying to piece it together. Someone had put that car in my garage. Someone wanted me to look guilty, and I had a damn good idea of who that might be. Karen had wanted me gone for months. This wasn't a coincidence. I called Tom later that night. "Hey, did you see anything weird around my house recently? Any cars being moved in or out? Anything unusual?" He hesitated. "Actually, yeah. Couple of nights ago, I saw some guy I didn't recognize near your garage. Thought it was just one of your customers, so I didn't think much of it. A cold dread settled in my chest. What did he look like? Young guy. Dark hoodie, kinda skinny. I only saw him for a second before he got into a car and drove off. It was late. My grip on the phone tightened. Someone had been setting me up. Someone had gone through the trouble of sneaking a stolen car into my garage, knowing it would look bad when the cops showed up, and if I didn't figure out who, I was going to take the fall for something I didn't do. Worse, if they had gone this far, what was stopping them from planting more evidence? If they wanted to destroy my life, they were only getting started. The morning after the police visit, I woke up feeling like my house had turned into a crime scene overnight. Laura was still asleep, but I couldn't stay in bed. My head was pounding from the stress of the previous night. I got up, made coffee, and stepped outside. The sun had barely started rising, and the neighborhood was eerily quiet. But something was off. Across the street, parked just a little too far from the curb, was a black SUV. It wasn't a neighbor's car. I knew every car in this neighborhood, and this one didn't belong here. Someone was watching me. I forced myself to act normal, sipping my coffee as I stared at the vehicle, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever was inside. But the windows were tinted, and the driver made no move. A slow anger started to burn in my chest. First, the planted car. Now this? Someone was going to extreme lengths to make my life hell. But why? What did I have that was worth destroying? Laura came outside, rubbing her eyes. She followed my gaze and sighed. That car wasn't here yesterday. I nodded. No, it wasn't. She tightened her robe. You think it's the cops? Watching you? No, I said, shaking my head. If it were the cops, they wouldn't bother hiding, and they sure wouldn't sit there for hours doing nothing. She exhaled sharply and leaned against me. This is getting out of hand. We should talk to a lawyer. I wanted to agree, but a lawyer meant money, and money wasn't something we had much of. I glanced back at the SUV, still unmoving. Let's wait, just for now. Laura didn't argue, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. She turned and went back inside. I stayed, staring at the SUV until finally, after nearly 15 minutes, it pulled away without a sound. It didn't speed off, didn't peel tires, just a slow, casual drive down the street, as if it had never been there at all. That was worse than anything. It meant whoever was behind this didn't care if I knew. They wanted me to feel watched, and it was working. That afternoon, I called Tom. You remember that guy you saw near my garage the other night? He hesitated. Yeah, why? Did you see what car he drove? Now that you mention it, yeah. Black SUV. Looked a little old, but still in good shape. Why? A chill went down my spine. Because I think he was watching me this morning. Tom swore under his breath. Man, this is messed up. You need to do something. This isn't just Karen being annoying anymore, this is dangerous. Yeah, I know. I rubbed my temples. Can you do me a favor? If you see that car again, get the license plate. Yeah, I can do that. But you need to start covering yourself. Get security cameras, something. He was right. I had been too passive. This wasn't going away on its own. That night, after Laura went to bed, I set up an old motion sensor camera I had in the garage. I positioned it to cover my driveway, then checked the feed. It worked. It wasn't much, but it was a start. 2 days later, I got my first hit. The camera alert woke me up at 3 a.m. My heart pounded as I grabbed my phone and opened the live feed. The black SUV was back, parked right in front of my house, and this time, the driver got out. A man, tall and lean, dressed in dark clothes. He moved toward my garage, looking around as if checking to see if anyone was watching. He was carrying something in his hand. I squinted at the screen. A wrench? A crowbar? Before I could react, he moved quickly, ducked near the side of my garage, and disappeared from the camera's view. My stomach twisted. What the hell was he doing? I jumped out of bed, grabbing the baseball bat I kept in the closet. I didn't wake Laura. No time for that. I crept down the hallway, unlocked the front door as quietly as I could, and stepped outside. The night was deadly silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Then I heard it, a metallic clank coming from behind the garage. I gripped the bat tighter and moved forward, my pulse pounding in my ears. Every step felt heavier. I turned the corner and saw him. He was crouched down, messing with something on the ground. He must have heard me, because he jerked his head up, eyes wide. For a split second, we just stared at each other. Then he bolted. I lunged forward, but he was too fast. He sprinted to his SUV, jumped in, and peeled out before I could even get close. I stood there, panting, watching the taillights disappear down the street. Then I looked down. My breath caught in my throat. On the ground near the side of my garage there was a metal box, and next to it, a small Ziploc bag filled with something I couldn't quite make out. But I didn't need to. I knew exactly what was happening. They were planting evidence. Again. I stood frozen, my eyes locked on the small metal box and the Ziploc bag beside it. My breath was uneven, my hands clenched into fists. Someone had just tried to frame me. Again. The realization sent a cold wave down my spine. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was a deliberate attack, and they weren't stopping until they had me ruined. I crouched, carefully picking up the metal box. It was heavier than I expected, the surface cold against my fingertips. The Ziploc bag contained something powdery, though I wasn't stupid enough to open it and find out what. Drugs? I had no doubt. This was a setup, designed to make it look like I was involved in something I wasn't. If I had been a little slower, if I hadn't caught that man in the act, the police would have found this on my property, and then what? A drug charge? An arrest? My name in the paper as a criminal. This was more than just Karen trying to shut down my garage. Someone else was behind this. I picked up my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed Tom's number. He answered groggily after a few rings. "What? Man, do you know what time it is? Someone just tried to plant drugs on my property." The words came out sharp and controlled, but the anger underneath them was boiling. Tom was instantly awake. "What the hell? Are you serious?" "Dead serious. Black SUV guy. He came back. I caught him sneaking around behind my garage. He dropped this and ran." Tom cursed under his breath. "You call the cops?" I hesitated. That was the logical thing to do. But what if the cops didn't believe me? What if the same people behind this had already gotten to them? The first two officers who came didn't seem corrupt, but that didn't mean all of them were clean. The wrong cop could make this whole thing go south real fast. "Not yet," I admitted. "I need to think." "You need to cover your ass. That's what you need to do. Do you have cameras back there?" "Just the one I set up in the front. It caught the SUV, but not what he did behind the garage." "Get more. Get them everywhere. You need proof next time." He was right. I had let this go too far without taking action. Whoever was doing this was confident, and confidence meant they thought I was vulnerable. I had to change that. I thanked Tom and hung up, then took the metal box and the Ziploc bag inside. I couldn't leave them outside. If someone came back and called the cops on me, I needed to control the evidence. Laura was waiting in the kitchen, her arms folded. She had seen me take the box inside, her eyes wide with worry. "What is that?" I placed the items on the counter and exhaled. "Evidence. Someone tried to set me up." Her face paled. "Oh my God, we need to go to the police." "I know, but I need to be smart about it. If we go now, there's a chance this gets twisted against me. If I can get some security footage, something solid, I can turn the tables." Laura swallowed hard, nodding. "So what do we do now?" "We get more cameras. We document everything. We don't talk to anyone about this unless we absolutely have to. And we watch our backs." The next morning, I went out and bought the best security cameras I could afford. I installed them in every corner of my property, one behind the garage, two covering the driveway, and another facing the street. If they came back, I would see them. No more blind spots. Days passed. I watched every recorded clip scanning for any sign of the SUV. Nothing. Just normal neighborhood activity. Kids riding bikes, people walking their dogs. But then, on the fifth night, I caught something. The black SUV was back. This time, they didn't park across the street. They didn't just watch. The camera by my garage picked up the movement just past midnight. The figure approached my property from the side, using the neighbor's bushes for cover. He moved carefully, staying low, as if he knew where the cameras were. But he didn't see the new ones. I had covered every angle. He reached the garage, pulling something from his pocket. A small plastic bag. Another setup. My pulse raced as I watched him kneel down, attempting to hide it behind one of my tool chests. That's when I stepped outside, baseball bat in hand. The man froze. For a split second, we were locked in a silent standoff. Then he turned and bolted. I chased him. He was fast, but I had adrenaline on my side. He sprinted toward the SUV, and I barely missed him before he yanked the door open and dove inside. The engine roared to life, tires screeching as he sped off. But this time, I had something I didn't before. I had his face on camera. I stood there, breathing hard, my grip tightening around the bat. The night was silent again, but everything had changed. Whoever this was, he had just made a mistake. And I was going to find out exactly who he was and why he was trying to destroy me. I sat in the dim glow of my computer screen, replaying the footage over and over again. The man's face wasn't crystal clear, but it was clear enough. He was younger than I expected, maybe late 20s with a narrow face and a tense posture, like he was always looking over his shoulder. I didn't recognize him, but that didn't mean much. Whoever was behind this wasn't acting alone. He was just another pawn in a bigger game, and I was done playing defense. Laura hovered behind me, her arms crossed. She had barely slept since that night. Neither had I. "What are you going to do with this?" "I need to figure out who he is," I said. "Once I do that, I can find out who sent him." "And then what?" She sounded exhausted, defeated. "Go to the police." "If I have enough proof, yeah." I exhaled sharply, my mind racing. "But I don't trust that every cop in this town is clean. If someone in homeowner association has connections, they could spin this around on me before I even get a chance to explain. I need more than just a blurry face on a video." She placed a hand on my shoulder. "We need help, Andrew. You can't do this alone." She was right. As much as I hated to admit it, I was out of my depth. I needed someone who knew the system, someone who could navigate the legal landmines that I was bound to step on if I kept going like this. The next morning, I made a call to the only person I could think of, Paul McGuire, a lawyer who had represented a few people in town against homeowner association lawsuits. I hadn't spoken to him in years, but when I explained the situation, he agreed to meet me that afternoon. Paul's office was a small, cluttered space in a strip mall on the edge of town. He looked older than I remembered, his hair grayer, his posture slightly slouched, but his eyes were sharp as ever. He listened carefully as I laid everything out: Karen's harassment, the planted evidence, the SUV, the man in the video. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and let out a low whistle. "You're in deeper than you realize. If someone is going this far to set you up, they're not going to stop unless they get what they want." "And what do they want?" I asked. "To ruin me? To get me arrested?" He tapped his fingers against his desk. "Could be, but I don't think this is just about your garage anymore. If homeowner association was only trying to shut you down, they'd fine you into oblivion. And this feels personal." I clenched my jaw. "So what do I do?" "You need more leverage." Paul's voice was calm but firm. "That video is a start, but it's not enough. We need proof of who is behind this. Follow the money, find the connection. Someone is paying that guy to do this, and if we can link them back to homeowner association, we can take them down." Easier said than done, but at least now I had a plan. That night, I parked my truck a block away from my house and waited. If the SUV came back, I wanted to be ready. Hours passed. Midnight, 1 a.m., nothing. Just when I was starting to think they wouldn't show, I spotted a dark silhouette moving near the edge of my property. My pulse spiked. I gripped my phone, ready to start recording. The figure moved fast, ducking low as they approached my garage. But this time, I had cameras covering every inch. As soon as they neared the side door, a motion-activated floodlight clicked on, bathing them in bright white light. They froze. For a split second, I saw pure panic in their body language. Then they bolted. I jumped out of my truck and ran. My legs pumped harder than they had in years, adrenaline surging through me. The man sprinted toward the street, aiming for a waiting car, another black SUV. But before he could reach it, I tackled him to the ground. We hit the pavement hard. He thrashed beneath me trying to break free, but I wasn't letting go. "Who sent you?" I snarled. He didn't answer, just kept struggling, his breath ragged, his arms flailing. The SUV's engine revved, and the driver, whoever they were, sped off, leaving him behind. I pinned him down, my heart hammering in my chest. "Tell me who you're working for, and maybe I let you walk away." His eyes darted wildly, his breath coming in quick gasps. "I don't know his name. I swear. He just pays me to drop stuff off and disappear." I tightened my grip. "Karen, is she behind this?" His hesitation told me everything. "I don't know, man. I don't know." Lies. But I could see the fear in his eyes. He was more afraid of whoever had hired him than he was of me. That meant something. I yanked him to his feet. "You're going to help me, or you're going to regret it. Choose." He swallowed hard, glancing around like he expected someone to come to his rescue. But no one was coming. He was on his own, and he knew it. Finally, he nodded. "All right, I'll tell you what I know." I exhaled slowly. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. I dragged him toward my garage, my grip iron tight on his arm as he stumbled along beside me. He was breathing hard, his pulse racing beneath my fingers. I could see the way his mind was working, calculating his next move, looking for an opening. But he wasn't going anywhere. Not until I got what I needed. Inside, I shoved him down onto a stool near my workbench and leaned in close, my voice low and steady. "Start talking. Who paid you? How did you get involved?" He wiped sweat from his forehead, swallowing hard. "I don't know his name, man. He contacts me through some burner number. Pays me in cash, always leaves it in different spots. I just do what I'm told." I narrowed my eyes. "And what exactly were you told?" He hesitated, and I slammed my palm down on the workbench, making him jump. "The truth, now." All right. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, exhaling sharply. "I was supposed to plant something near your garage. Same as before. He said it needed to be convincing this time. I don't ask questions. I just do the job and walk away." My jaw tightened. "And Karen, is she involved?" His eyes darted away, his silence telling me everything I needed to know. "I don't know, man. Maybe. All I know is that she's always in the mix whenever something goes down in this neighborhood. She's the one who makes the calls. Whether she's working with him or for him, I don't know." I exhaled slowly, my mind racing. This wasn't just about my garage anymore. Someone had been orchestrating this from the shadows, using Karen as a weapon, manipulating events to get what they wanted. But what the hell did they want? I pulled out my phone, snapped a quick picture of his face, and held it up for him to see. "If you're lying to me, I'll find you, and I'll make sure you regret it." He nodded rapidly, his hands trembling. "I swear, that's all I know." I stood there for a long moment, debating my next move. If I turned him over to the cops, they'd probably slap him on the wrist and let him walk. Whoever was behind this would cover their tracks, and I'd be right back where I started. But if I let him go, he might lead me to the real culprit. I stepped back. "Get out of here. If I see you near my property again, it won't end well for you." He scrambled to his feet, nearly tripping over himself as he bolted out the door. I watched him go, my heart pounding. I had him rattled. That was good, but it wasn't enough. I grabbed my phone and called Paul. He picked up on the second ring. "Tell me you got something." "I got more than something," I said, rubbing my temple. "I caught one of their guys. He admitted to being paid to set me up. He doesn't know who's pulling the strings, but Karen's name came up again." Paul let out a slow breath. "That's what I was afraid of. Listen, I've been digging into homeowner associations' finances, and something isn't adding up. Funds being moved around, bogus invoices. I think someone's laundering money through the association. My stomach tightened. And they're using me as a distraction. Exactly. They want you out of the way because you're the only one asking questions. If you go down, no one looks twice at what they're doing. I gritted my teeth. So how do we prove it? Paul hesitated. We need more than circumstantial evidence. We need records, bank transfers, something solid. If we can get our hands on those, we can blow this thing wide open. I ran a hand over my face. And where do we find that? Paul's voice was grim. Inside Homeowner Association's office. Breaking into an office wasn't exactly on my bucket list, but if that's what it took to clear my name, I was ready. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for every person in this neighborhood who had ever been strong-armed, bullied, or scammed by the people in power. That night, I parked a block away from Homeowner Association's headquarters. It was a modest building, nothing flashy, just a converted house with an administrative sign out front. The lights inside were off. No cars in the driveway. If there was ever a time to move, it was now. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the truck, keeping to the shadows as I approached the side entrance. My heart pounded in my ears. I wasn't a criminal, but I was done playing by the rules when the people screwing me over had none. I tested the handle. Locked, of course. I pulled out the small pry tool I'd brought and wedged it into the frame, working the latch loose until it gave way with a soft pop. Slipping inside, I kept my movements slow, methodical. The place smelled of stale coffee and cheap cleaning supplies. Desks lined the small office, stacks of papers and folders littering the surfaces. I moved to the filing cabinets and started pulling drawers open, scanning the labels. Budgets, meeting minutes, financial records. Bingo. I yanked out a thick folder marked Expenditures 2023 and flipped it open. My pulse quickened as I scanned the pages. It was all here. The bogus invoices Paul had mentioned, payments made to fake vendors, money disappearing into thin air. And at the bottom of one particularly large transfer, a signature I recognized. Karenology. I took out my phone and started snapping pictures. Page after page of incriminating evidence. This was it. The proof I needed. But just as I was about to close the folder, a sharp click echoed through the room. The front door had just unlocked. I barely had time to react before a flashlight beam swept across the office. A figure stepped inside, the light catching the glint of something metallic in their hand. My blood ran cold. Whoever it was, they weren't here for paperwork. I ducked low behind a desk, my breath shallow. The figure moved closer, slow, deliberate. The flashlight flicked across the desk where I had just been standing. Then, a voice I knew all too well filled the silence. "I know you're in here, Andrew. You should have walked away when you had the chance." Karen.